Those are mine, or are those yours?
They look like mine.
Let us pray. Honorable members, it has come to our attention that a former member of this House died yesterday. Harry Lobe was first elected in the 1948 general election and served the constituency of Beaver River. He was re-elected in the 1952 general election and served the constituency of Lac La Biche until 1955. Perhaps we might observe a moment or two of silence in his memory. Rest eternal grant unto him, O Lord, and let light perpetual shine upon him. Amen. As Canadians and as Albertans, we give thanks for the precious gifts of freedom and peace which we enjoy. As members of this Legislative Assembly, we rededicate ourselves to the valued traditions of parliamentary democracy as a means of serving both our province and our country. Amen.
Introduction of visitors. Presenting petitions.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, I'd like to file with the Assembly 1,021 more signatures protesting the cutbacks in senior services and asking for the withdrawal of these budget measures. That's over 43,000 Albertans that have spoken this issue either by coupons or petitions, Mr. Speaker.
Hear, hear.
Reading and receiving petitions. Presenting reports by standing and special committees. Notices of motions. Introduction of bills.
Mr. Speaker, I request leave to introduce Bill number 51, which is the Pension Statutes Transitional Arrangements Act 1991. Mr. Speaker, this piece of legislation provides authority for the government to deal with the federal-driven pension changes which will come into effect in 1992 and allows only for amendments by order in council to deal with those federal regulations. Mr. Speaker, I move first reading of this bill.
Order, please. The Honorable Provincial Treasurer has moved first reading of Bill 51, Pension Statutes Transitional Arrangements Act 1991. Those members in favor of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number 51, Pension Statutes Transitional Arrangements Act 1991, introduced by the Honorable Mr. Johnston, is now read a first time. Tabling returns and reports.
Minister of Forestry, Lands and Wildlife.
Speaker, I'd like to file at the Assembly today responses to motions for return numbers 229 and 236. Mr. Speaker, I couldn't get all the material on my desk, so there are 5 additional copies of motion for return number 236 available through the clerk's office.
Thank you. First, if we can have 2 pages, please. 3 pages. Minister of Municipal Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to file with the Assembly the following documents: a review of rural industrial taxation and industrial tax transfer situation analysis,
evaluation of the local impacts of peripheral shopping centers, and the Swan Hills Colloquium discussion paper, and as well the action plan.
Thank you. Member for Redwater Andrew.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to file with the Assembly the 1990 annual report of the Alberta Multiculturalism Commission.
Okay. Solicitor General.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to file with the Assembly the response to question number 351.
Thank you. Additional? In accordance with the provisions of Section 27, subsection 1 of the Ombudsman Act, I have the pleasure of tabling with the Legislative Assembly the 24th annual report of the Ombudsman, and this report covers the activities of the office for the calendar year 1990.
Introduction of special guests.
The member for Calgary-McCall.
I'd like to take this opportunity today to introduce to you and through you to members of the legislature, the Ombudsman for Alberta, Harley Johnson, and his assistant Dixie Watson, who are seated in your gallery, and I would ask them to rise and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
Member for Dunvegan.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is a pleasure today to introduce to you and through you 14 grade 6 students from the Rycroft School in Spirit River School Division in the constituency of Dunvegan. They are accompanied today by their principal, Terrace Riome, and by teacher Divinder Paul. And also accompanying them is Diane Philpott. I would ask them to rise and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
The member for Smoky River.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of my colleague, the Honorable Boomer Adair, it's my privilege to introduce 28 students from the St. Mary's School in Fort Vermilion. Fort Vermilion, of course, was one of the first settlements in Alberta and has a long and historical background. A year ago, they celebrated their bicentennial, and I think that's quite an achievement. Accompanying these 28 students are teachers Miss R. Harris, Miss R. A. Randolph, and parents Brian Fletcher, Doug Longard, Gordon Smith, and Bethany Mosier. I would ask the students to now rise and receive the warm welcome of this House.
Ministerial statements. Oral question period.
Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, to the Attorney General. Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Attorney General tried to make the case that the secret accounts held by the Ministers of Education and Energy are just like any other member's personal bank accounts, Mr. Speaker, but in due fairness, I believe he misunderstands the situation, Mr. Speaker. What we're talking about here are not personal accounts held by a member, but instead are accounts held for by the member by other people, Mr. Speaker. The problem with this should be obvious. We can't be sure that the money is being used properly, and we don't know who the ministers are beholden to. That's why we have disclosure to begin with, Mr. Speaker. My question to the Attorney General is simply this. Will the Attorney General admit that having other people collect and hold money for a politician's private use could be an easy way for that politician to avoid the disclosure legislation and spend money in all sorts of prohibited ways?
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member is correct that yesterday I was not aware of the news account that he was referring to, and I do think that where funds are collected by an individual for an elected official, that there should be some accounting for that money. Now, our proposal under Bill 40 will make that public disclosure in these instances.
Mr. Speaker, I'm glad the Attorney General raised that, because that was what I was going to raise next about Section 7. I think he's speaking of specifically, Mr. Speaker, and it has to go to the commissioners, and he can decide then. I think it still should be public, but it is covered under the Act. So my question is simply this to the Attorney General. Will the Attorney General immediately recommend to these ministers that they freeze these accounts and accept no more gifts until the bill is either passed or defeated, or is he content to let go on as the way it is, Mr. Speaker?
Mr. Speaker, my undertaking yesterday was that I would discuss the matter with both ministers, and I can advise that one no longer has an account. It's been done away with, dissipated some time ago, and the other minister is forthwith taking steps to ensure that the fund no longer comes to him unaccounted for.
Mr. Speaker, I'm glad we'd like to know where that other account went, Mr. Speaker, but I guess we'll never find that out. But Mr. Speaker, just to come back to the Attorney General, I know I feel sorry for the Minister of Education. Can't make ends meet. $104,000 salary, $18,000 resettlement, Mr. Speaker. And I saw a lot of tears from Albertans flowing after that, Mr. Speaker. But the Minister of Energy, whether he has this account or not, has had it in the past, Mr. Speaker, and he said that he uses his donations to throw parties for his volunteers, Mr. Speaker. That may be a more serious admission because, Mr. Speaker, the possibility is unreceipted money could be used for overtly political purposes, Mr. Speaker. And my question to the Attorney General is this. Don't get nervous, Mr. Energy. You haven't done anything wrong. You won't be in trouble. Mr. Speaker, will the Attorney General investigate the legality of the Minister of Energy's practice of using unreceipted money to reward those who he likely wants to work for him in future campaigns?
Makes it sound as though all you guys are clean, right?
Mr. Speaker, as I understand how the money was received, how it was handled, and who handled it, that it at no time went into the hands or under the control of the minister. I will again undertake to ensure that there has not been any breaches, and it's with delight, frankly, that we are bringing Bill 40 to ensure that this type of activity does not continue without sanction if ill will is found.
Second main question, Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, my second question is to the Minister of Economic Development and International Trade, Mr. Speaker. I want to move from questionable ethics to financial incompetence, Mr. Speaker. In fact, I think in the case of Alberta Pacific Terminals, we seem to have both. Mr. Speaker, the government is once again about to lose millions of taxpayers' dollars on yet another ad hoc bailout of a company ran by its friends. But, Mr. Speaker, now we have the spectacle of the ex-Minister of Economic Development, Mr. Larry Shaban, the same minister who approved the project to begin with, and he approved it, I take it, as a wise investment for taxpayers, now being hired, Mr. Speaker, to lobby his former colleagues on behalf of the company, Mr. Speaker, armed with the threat to convert his debt into worthless shares for this government, Mr. Speaker. My question to the Minister of Economic Development is simply this. Does the minister see anything wrong with his predecessor, the ex-Minister of Economic Development and Trade, going from his position as protector of the taxpayers' interests in Alberta Pacific Terminals to now lobbying his ex-colleagues on behalf of this company?
Mr. Speaker, I indicated to the Legislative Assembly some time ago the reason that we were proceeding with our court action. We are proceeding with the court action so that we can protect the interests of the Alberta taxpayer. For that reason, we are supporting the court action that has been brought forward by the Fraser Port Authority. We were not happy with the reorganizational plan, but I should also caution the honourable member, and I wish to exercise this caution myself, that one has to be very sensitive as to what we do say, recognizing that it is before the courts.
Mr. Speaker, that had nothing to do with the point of it. It's nice that they want to protect the taxpayers' money. They should have been doing that a long time ago, Mr. Speaker, before you got into the deal. But, Mr. Speaker, there are two reasons for the imminent loss of millions of dollars of taxpayers' money. One is this government's foolish and secret arrangement to allow the company to convert its debt into shares, and that's what Mr. Shaven is talking about, and they will be frankly worthless, Mr. Speaker. And second, this minister's advancement of money to the company when it was clearly in deep trouble. Now, my question to the minister is this. Will the minister explain why he loaned this company a further $3 million in August 1990 when he knew or ought to have known that the company was already in serious financial difficulty and didn't even have enough assets to cover the original $9 million loan guarantee?
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member should be very much aware as to the strength of the Alberta economy. And the Alberta economy is strong because we as a provincial government did involve ourselves in a number of endeavours. Some of those endeavours did not work out to the degree that we would have wished. But for the honourable member to suggest that we're going to follow through with commitments other than what I've indicated consistently in this House is totally inaccurate. I indicated to the honourable member in this House some time ago that there would be no more support forthcoming as it related to Alberta Pacific Terminals. I also indicated in this House that we were not about to convert our loan to equity. I'm not sure what more I can offer the honourable gentleman by way of information. I've been very forthcoming as it relates to all the details. So for him to suggest that it's secretive is just not according to the facts.
Mr. Speaker, I asked him whether he thought Shaven was doing the right thing. He avoided that. I asked him why he loaned $3 million. He refuses to answer that, Mr. Speaker. But I'll ask Mr. Speaker, let's look at the assets. The minister keeps talking about protecting Alberta's assets, just like we did with Mirius, just like we did with GSR, like we did with MagnaCan, Mr. Speaker. But let's look at the assets that the minister has purchased for Albertans for $12 million. We have a lease for port facilities that is $2 million in arrears. We have a bunch of second-hand equipment, and we are the proud owners of a burned-down warehouse, Mr. Speaker. My question to the minister is simply this. Given that last fall, the company listed its assets at $3.9 million and its debt at $20.5 million, will the minister explain how he sees the taxpayers of this province coming out of this deal with any of the $12 million this government has plowed into it, Mr. Speaker?
Mr. Speaker, firstly, as I indicated to the Honourable Leader of the Opposition the other day, we don't have a $12 million exposure because a portion of the $9 million loan guarantee has been paid down. So I wish the Honourable Member would be accurate, and I'm happy to repeat for him again the inaccuracy as to his statements. I also indicated to the Honourable Member that we do have first call in conjunction with Treasury branches on all the assets. The access to Tidewater is very important for the exportation of our goods from the province of Alberta. That is also worth something, Mr. Speaker. But it's far too early, as I indicated to the Honourable Member earlier in this Legislative Assembly, to determine what, if any, losses will be incurred on behalf of the Alberta government.
Edmonton Glengarry.
Mr. Speaker, my questions are to the Honourable Minister of Advanced Education. Speaker, a year ago, the Liberal caucus drew to the minister's attention the fact that there were some 6,000 Alberta high school students who were qualified to go to post-secondary institutions but couldn't get in. The institutions were simply freezing them out. The minister didn't take action, and many of those students, I think, were perhaps lost interest in getting higher education. This year, our research, by contacting each of these post-secondary institutions, shows that the situation has become even worse. There's a 10% increase of applications in universities overall, a 30% increase at colleges for university transfer programs, and still the minister is taking no action. My first question to the minister is this. Why is it, Mr. Speaker, that the minister continues to refuse and continues to do something to help these qualified students in getting access to post-secondary institutions? These students are our greatest resource. Why do you ignore them, Mr. Minister?
Mr. Speaker, first of all, I certainly don't ignore those Albertans who wish to pursue the post-secondary educational system. I've indicated, I think, on several occasions, Mr. Speaker, Alberta has the highest participation rate in Canada with regard to the post-secondary system. British Columbia was some 3.1 million people compared to 2.5 million. Alberta has 4,000 less students in university. I think the record, Mr. Speaker, speaks for itself. I I'm sure honorable members are well aware, traditionally we've always had more applications for our post-secondary system than we've had spaces. That's not unusual at all, Mr. Speaker, and I would think students are well advised. It would be called hedging your bets to register at many institutions. I've asked, particularly University of Calgary, which the leader has raised on many occasions, to advise me, Mr. Speaker, as Minister, what happened to these students who applied and didn't get in, and to yet have not had a response.
Mr. Speaker, today the University of Calgary issued a press release saying that unless you have a 73% average, forget it. Don't even apply for non-quota faculties because you won't get in. The minister knows that. Now, what advice does he give to the students of Alberta who have qualifications? Last year it was 60% that would have qualified you to get into the University of Calgary. What advice do you give to those students who are qualified who can't get in?
Mr. Speaker, it's interesting to hear the University of Calgary has announced 73%. Yesterday it was 75%. So that's certainly encouraging that they're lowering the entrance requirement. Mr. Speaker, I continue to emphasize that students in Alberta who wish to pursue the post-secondary system, the day of attending the institution of their first choice, or indeed the program of their first choice, is frankly limited. Mr. Speaker, this government, Mr. Speaker, commits more dollars on behalf of its taxpayers to the post-secondary system on a per capita basis than any province in Canada, Mr. Speaker. I simply conclude by making the observation, not only to the leader of the Liberal Party, but all members, that this minister is vitally concerned that the future of Alberta is directly dependent on our education and training standards. And I continue to do everything within my power, Mr. Speaker, to see that adequate funding is provided.
Mr. Speaker, I want to get this clear because I can't believe my words. Is the minister... Mr. Speaker, sometimes they're so profound, they're too profound. Mr. Speaker, it's appalling to listen to the minister saying to Alberta students, well, you go off to Montana and you go off to Saskatchewan and find something in BC. Is that the way the minister wants to deal with this serious problem? Is that the advice that he's giving to the students of Alberta?
Mr. Speaker, I think I've made it abundantly clear that the Western provinces play a very important role with the education of Albertans. University of Saskatoon, for example, we have some 20 veterinary medicine students there. The University of Guelph, we have students there taking optometry. In British Columbia, we have students in physical therapy attending. That's long been an accepted practice, Mr. Speaker. I simply emphasize again that Albertans can be very proud of the record of the post-secondary system. And as long as we continue to commit over $1 billion to post-secondary education, we in Alberta have nothing to be ashamed of.
Wainwright.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Deputy Premier and Minister of Federal and Intergovernmental Affairs. Last week, this legislature passed Motion 217 regarding changes to the beef grading system to help encourage the all-important foreign sales of Alberta beef. During your trade mission to Japan last week, did the minister have an opportunity to discuss potential sales with the Japanese government?
Mr. Speaker, yes. Matter of fact, Alberta beef figured very prominently in all the receptions that we hosted at the new Canadian Embassy. As I pointed out, perhaps didn't point out yesterday, Alberta was the first province to utilize the new Canadian Embassy facilities, and Alberta beef was prominently displayed and utilized for all those receptions. And several hundred Japanese had the benefit of tasting Alberta beef, some of them for the first time. On last Wednesday evening, I hosted the reception for all the agricultural buyers of Alberta products, and there were somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 to 200 people in attendance at that reception. Those included buyers from various department stores and other importers of meat into Japan. There is a tremendous market in Japan for Alberta beef, but it is important that Alberta processors supply the appropriate types of cuts and so on. It is extremely important that we take these steps, and I think that the promotion was very successful, and as well the government was represented by members of the Diet and officials up from the Department of Industry and Trade.
Thank you. That sounds very encouraging, but when can we see a significant increase in our beef sales?
Mr. Speaker, that's an extremely important question. As members will know, on the 1st of April of this year, Japan removed its quotas on foreign beef imports into Japan and replaced it with a tariff of 70%. That tariff is going to be ratcheted down in a progressive manner over the next period of years. But I think the key thing we have to note, obviously, is that there's fierce competition for the Japanese market for Canadian beef, particularly from the United States and Australia. So we're going to have to get in there and market very hard against that competition in order to make sure that Alberta and Western beef, Canadian beef, penetrate that market. I should point out that over the last 5 years, Alberta beef sales have grown from under $500,000 a year into Japan to something to several tens of millions of dollars worth of imports during the last year, and we expect that over the next period of 10 years, if we market it properly, if it's processed and packaged properly, that could increase tenfold into the hundreds of millions of dollars, perhaps as high as $500 million a year, and we are working very aggressively to see that that happens for the benefit of Alberta beef producers. Edmonton Beverly.
Mr. Speaker, my questions are to the Minister of Municipal Affairs. Mr. Speaker, the Improvement District Act is silent on the issue of conflict of interest. But, Mr. Speaker, the conflict of interest would occur when a person uses one's position to further a private interest, which is a far cry from having a bias. In the case of ID 22 Councillor Peter Rees, one action which the Minister has condemned is that Mr. Rees used news articles to condemn the details of a private meeting on forestry policy, saying that this means that the councillor is breaking rank and is undermining the business and operations of the Advisory Council. My question to the Minister, Mr. Speaker, is this: on what precedent and on what legal bias did the Minister decide that Mr. Rees is representing the interests of some people in the ID is in fact in conflict of interest?
Mr. Speaker, in terms of the question, I'm not sure of the order of the question because there is a legal request that is being made by the honourable member. But in terms of the letter that was written to Mr. Rees on a very personal and confidential manner, my indication to him as the Reeve, as the Minister of Municipal Affairs of ID 22, was to indicate to him that where in instances he may make comment or statement or vote on items which relate to the Diashawa plant in terms of the legal or the lawsuit that he has against the province, there could be a potential conflict of interest. And so I raised that in terms of courtesy with that honourable councillor. Secondly, in terms of securing information, the indication or the information that was brought forward to me, Mr. Speaker, was that the councillor was securing information that he indicated was on behalf of the ID when the information was being secured for his own personal use. And the ID Council, the other members, and the chairman of the council were very concerned about that because he was using his office for his own personal purposes. And Mr. Speaker, I think any one of us that looked at the responsibility of a council that's duly elected by the people would find that rather unusual and unacceptable.
Well, we realize the Minister is responsible for the IDs, but the Local Improvements Districts Act does not give the minister power to control how an ID councillor thinks or votes. In his letter to Mr. Reese, the Minister of Municipal Affairs said that voting against a major decision of the councillor has violated the democratic process. To the minister, is the minister now saying that in his letter that by dissent and free expression of opinion are not going to be tolerated from any ID councillor? Is that what the minister is saying?
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member is reading and interpreting the letter for his own personal purposes at the moment. Any person in the province of Alberta, or a resident of Alberta, or a resident or a citizen of Canada, has the right to speak and on whatever subject he or she wishes, and that person must live with the implications or the consequences of those comments. And I uphold and support that position very clearly. The concern that we had with regards to Mr. Reese's actions relate to council decisions. When the council makes a decision and Mr. Reese is asked to represent the council in another forum, and in this one of the instances with regards to the Peace River Health Unit Board, the honourable or the member of that council, when representing the total council, voted in a different way in which the council had directed him to vote when he attended that respective meeting. The council said that is not being fair or representing the body that made a unanimous or a majority decision. And I think that when you are part of a group that has made a decision after thorough discussion and you are to represent the group in another forum, you should do it in a responsible way. And that matter was brought to Mr. Reese's attention, and we felt that was a responsible thing to do, Mr. Speaker.
Calgary Northwest. Calgary Northwest, not West Loch Sturgeon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my question today is to the Deputy Premier. The concerns of Albertans, Mr. Speaker, are growing daily with the secrecy of this government. The magical mystery tour of the Premier comes to mind, and now the secret bank accounts of some cabinet ministers. Freedom of information and accountability are paramount, Mr. Speaker, especially when we're looking at details of private fundraising being kept secret. My question to the Deputy Premier is this. I would like to know, and my constituents would like to know, what he has done as the acting head of government right now to find out what other members of the Executive Council have received private gifts or have private accounts like this, and when will he make that information public?
Mr. Speaker, first of all, let me say that there's nothing secret about the Premier's mission to Europe. On the 6th of June, 1991, a press release was issued, and obviously it has escaped the attention of the honourable member, and perhaps I'll be happy to send him a copy in which they clearly outlined the nature of the visit, where he was going, what he was doing, and so on. So I would, the preamble to the question, I think, is quite inaccurate, and if the honourable member doesn't want to know the facts, I can't help him out very much. However, the other question related to the honourable member for West Loch Sturgeon continues to interrupt, and that, of course, is his want to do. I don't know why he wants to do it, but he does. The fact of the matter is we have asked my colleagues and the Attorney General has asked our colleagues to advise as to whether or not any other member of the government caucus has any additional sources of revenue which are not reported. And to date, nobody has indicated that such bank accounts exist, and I think that that would be appropriate. And I don't know what the opposition parties are doing to ascertain whether any similar accounts might be in existence on behalf of them. or any of them? And if so, I think that that would be appropriate for them to advise and discuss the matter with Legislative Council. And of course, once the Conflict of Interest Commissioner is in place, that type of discussion will appropriately take place with that new officer.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of the Liberal Caucus, I can advise the Legislative Assembly that there are no such accounts in the Liberal Caucus in any of our members. So my supplementary to the Minister is that will the Minister require the two individuals, the two ministers who are involved with this, to disclose, first of all, who has made the donations, how much money has been donated, and finally, for what purposes the funds are being expended?
The Attorney General dealt with that question in answer to the Honourable Leader of the Opposition earlier today.
Smoky River.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to address my question to the Minister of Tourism, and it relates to a tidy town concept which I believe has some very major tourist implications. Each year, the town of McLennan, through people like Mrs. Pauline Perry and the Tidy Town Committee, organize a cleanup and a general cleanup for the whole town and the main street particularly. The Honourable Minister recall that I requested his input as to the possibility of seeing that this initiative become provincially expanded, perhaps through tourism zones. I'd like to know the progress that your department has made in this matter, Mr. Minister, and if indeed there is anything new to report.
Mr. Speaker, we were delighted to hear about this fresh, innovative idea that McLennan has brought forward that gives recognition to property beautification. It's an idea that our department likes and could fit the many CTAP plans being done throughout the province. Right now we have some 336 communities who have created community tourism action plans, and we could recommend this idea to each and every one of those communities. We have sent the idea through to other departments of government and through to TIALTA, and so far the feedback has been very, very positive. It's one of the many goals that any community should set. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to ask my supplementary to the Minister for Environment. Given that the tidy town concept has some environmental implications and indeed may have some long-term ramifications in the field of environment and in tourism, is he prepared to support this fine initiative in this constituency as well as throughout the province?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I would take it that this is yet another example of the numerous community-based programs that take place throughout the province. I would like to get up there and see the program in operation and see how it perhaps can be cranked into Environment Week or some of the other promotional activities of the department. It's a very innovative project and one that certainly has significant environmental consequences, and I would like to see the project in operation, talk to the town officials, and see what we can do to give them a hand.
Edmonton Strathcona.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, in discussing Bill 37, the Solicitor General indicated that if the government decided to proceed with Bill 37, he would file the task force report on eye care issues. In other words, if the government decided to proceed with the bill, the report would be made public. I have copies of the report to file with the legislature. Given that this report vindicates the principles set out in Bill 37, will the minister commit to proceed with the bill during this session?
That's a simple question.
It was to the Solicitor General.
Thank you. We will study that material tabled and respond to it in due course.
Come on, Dick, you can do better than that.
Mr. Speaker, the supplementary is also to the Solicitor General. These amendments to Bill 37 in this area have been in the making for some 5 years, and they have the support of numerous organizations, including the College of Physicians and Surgeons, the Heinemann Commission, the Ophthalmic Dispensers Examining Board, the Alberta Medical Association, and many other organizations. The task force found no evidence to support the contention that there was a lack of due process for the optometrists, and I'm wondering whether the minister, considering the widespread public support amongst the stakeholders and the public at large, what new information is there to lead to the stalling tactics with respect to Bill 37?
Mr. Chairman and Mr. Speaker, there are no stalling tactics on this matter at all. A well-respected profession of this province has indicated a concern about what they perceive to be lack of consultation in respect to this particular bill. And the Premier has offered not only this profession, but any other profession involved in occupations and professions legislation, that they should in fact have an appropriate opportunity to respond to any changes that are proposed in their legislation. That's what we are going to do in this instance.
Evanton Meadowlark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, residents of the communities of Deadwood and Dixonville want to establish a small community forest of about 170 square kilometers, which they themselves would administer for wildlife management, selective timber cutting, and to avoid problems of erosion and flooding in their area. This idea has literally been ignored by the Minister of Forest, Lands and Wildlife, who on the other hand is happy to allocate 160,000 square kilometers of forests to such multinationals as Daiashawa, Alberta Pacific, and Procter & Gamble. To the Minister of Forest, Lands and Wildlife, why has this minister failed to accommodate in his department's integrated management plan for this area the local community aspirations of the people of Deadwood and Dixonville for their own community forest?
Mr. Speaker, as usual, this member only tells half the story.
Why?
And the truth is that there was consultation with the community. In fact, there was 21 separate meetings over the last 2 years, and the decision that has been made reflects the majority decision of the people in the area.
Shameful. Mr. Speaker, this minister cannot argue that that decision reflects the majority of the people in the area because he did not structure a proper plebiscite. He had coffee parties that whoever wanted to come or decided to come would come and vote at, and that's not a representative sample by any means. What arrogance, Mr. Speaker, what arrogance would prompt this minister and officials in his own department to refuse even to attend a meeting called by the people of Deadwood and Dixonville to discuss their proposal for their own community forest? Why wouldn't he even deign to attend that particular meeting, Mr. Speaker?
Mr. Speaker, as usual, his whole diatribe of words is nothing but rubbish.
That's right, just rubbish.
Venture Creek Crow's Nest. Venture Creek Crow's Nest.
Mr. Speaker, Alberta has 75% of Canada's coal reserves, which is the largest source of energy in Canada, even greater than Alberta's oil sands. Last week, while the Minister of Energy was in Japan, the Association of Coal Mining Municipalities of Western Canada had a successful meeting here in Edmonton and discussed issues such as clean coal technology and increasing exports of Western Canadian coal. My question to the Minister of Energy: could the Minister of Energy report to the Assembly on his recent trip to Japan and Korea and the potential for incremental sales of Alberta coal to Korea and Japan?
Well, Mr. Speaker, Asia, particularly Japan and Korea, represent a very important market for Alberta coal. As a matter of fact, we trade $460 million worth of coal on an annual basis to Japan and Korea. Mr. Speaker, with regard to Korea, they're expected to quadruple their electrical power generation by the year 2001, and they expect half of this increase to be through coal-fired power generation. As a result, they will need to import an additional 18 million tons of coal
a year by the year 2000. Mr. Speaker, for Korea, we can see a tremendous opportunity to secure some incremental coal demand to supplement the level of coal sales today. With respect to Japan, much the same. 1990 total consumption was 117 million tons of coal, and Australia supplies about 65% of their steaming coal, Mr. Speaker. So it is very important that we as a government continue to court our very important export markets in Asia, particularly Korea and Japan, and let them know how important it is to us that we secure some of this incremental demand for our coal mines here in the province.
Supplementary question, Mr. Speaker. Given this projected increased use of coal in Korea and Japan, which is very good news to the Alberta coal industry, did the minister also discuss the clean coal technologies with the Japanese or Koreans in order to address this issue of the global environmental concern regarding the burning of coal?
Mr. Speaker, this was a point raised by all the meetings I had with the steel companies and power generation companies in Japan and Korea, and it was around the issue of clean coal technologies. It is an area that we have an advantage here in Alberta, and I should say, Mr. Speaker, under the leadership of the member for Pincher Creek Crow's Nest as chairman of the Alberta Research Council, they are conducting a number of initiatives related to clean coal technologies. We in the province are looking at a number of areas in which we can improve the quality of coal, the clean burning nature of coal, low SOx and NOx burners, integrated gasification combined cycle facilities, and any way in which we can reduce emissions as related to coal as a combustible fuel. We see it, Mr. Speaker, as a service to our customers, and that's why we will continue to promote it. My experience coming back from Japan and Korea is that for us to continue to have an advantage and the opportunity to secure any incremental demand will largely be related to our ability to provide clean coal technologies as I've indicated.
Edmonton Avonmore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my questions are to the Attorney General. Mr. Speaker, Edmonton's Task Force on Safer Cities has recommended that the province establish a division of the Family Court designed to quickly and effectively deal with cases of family violence. A specialized court would reduce the delay in getting family violence cases to trial, be staffed by judges, lawyers, and counselors with expertise in the area of domestic violence, and would provide for more consistent sentencing and allow for better monitoring of cases. My questions to the Attorney General: given that such a court would increase the likelihood of parties getting timely and appropriate protection and treatment, has the Attorney General reviewed the task force recommendations, and if so, what is he going to do about it?
Mr. Speaker, we have reviewed the task force, and we, not too many years ago, had specialists in terms of prosecutors and that handled specific cases, and it was found, from one perspective anyways, to be somewhat boring or monotonous for the person to be continually doing the same. So we got away from that. I might advise the honourable member that there's a court in Manitoba that has recently been structured somewhat the way recommended, and that we are working with the chief judge of the provincial court in Alberta and the Manitoba court to monitor and see whether in fact we can redesign ours to effect that.
Mr. Speaker, that is good news. My second question then is, in the meantime, I have heard that some of the complaints, particularly from victims of violence against them, is that Crown prosecutors may not be fully cognizant of the implications. I'm wondering if, until such time as this kind of a court is put in place or measures, if the Attorney General would assure us that Crown prosecutors dealing with cases of violence, particularly against women or in the family, would have specialized training so they can be sensitive to the needs of victims.
Good questions. Mr. Speaker, we do attempt to put Crown prosecutors into these type of cases where they have had the experience and the expertise in the law, and also to recognize the consequences of some of the violence. We are also trying to develop, not only in the family violence area, but in other areas, specialized training for prosecutors.
Calgary McKnight.
Mr. Speaker, Albertans are anxious to see a resolution to the issue of inequity in education finance. As we all know, the Minister of Education's unacceptable proposal regarding corporate pooling went nowhere. And now the matter of education finance is being considered by a number of committees, the major one being the Premier's Committee on Local Government Financing. This committee, however, has not met for 2 months, making it obvious that the government is stalling and will not even attempt to find a solution to these problems. To the Minister of Education, since the gap between the have and have-not school boards is getting wider, and since there is no long-term solution to the problem, will the Minister consider interim funding to assist boards who want, at the very least, to continue to offer an adequate education?
Mr. Speaker, what we're searching for is more than just an interim solution, because as the member quite rightly points out, there are discrepancies in the ability of local school boards across this province to pay for their local share of the cost of education. And I think of communities like, there are school boards like the County of Lac St. Anne or the County of Warner or the Cardston or Stirling school divisions, and they are badly in need of not just an interim, but a long-term solution to this problem that's been around for a very long time. And in fact, the government has taken steps by providing some $69, nearly $70 million in this fiscal year to help those school boards who can't get access to that local tax base. But, Mr. Speaker, there are, in fact, several options on the table to solve this problem over the long term. I want to continue to share those with my colleagues, and of course hear from the Local Government Financing Review Committee, which I expect they were to have reported to us by 30 June, and I look forward to hearing their advice at that time.
Yeah, and the Liberals are...
Thank you. It's too bad, Mr. Speaker, that these school boards don't have friends to raise funds for them. Mr. Speaker, trying to resolve funding inequities on the backs of property owners may no longer work, and I'm wondering if the government has considered any new ways in which education may be funded rather than from the property tax base.
Well, Mr. Speaker, let it be known that members on this side of the Assembly are looking for a solution to this long-term problem. I wish I could say the same for members opposite. But, Mr. Speaker, we have been funding education in this province on very much a cost-shared basis between municipalities and the provincial government since 1905. And, Mr. Speaker, as recently as the early 1950s, the total cost of education was borne by as much as 70% by the local supplementary requisition, the local property tax base. Today, Mr. Speaker, the province funds education to the tune of, on average, about 60%. But if the honourable member has a suggestion as to where we can access those extra dollars without solving the real problem, which is the uneven distribution of wealth across this entire province, that virtually pits a poor school jurisdiction versus another with rich economic development and lots of natural resources, then I would welcome the honourable member to make that suggestion in this Assembly. Because, Mr. Speaker, school boards badly need a solution. And we just can't have naysayers from the other side of the Assembly. We need solutions.
Orders of the day.